everyone, and welcome back to my 12 Days of Christmas series. Today I'm going to be sharing with you some reflections, but basically some things that I've learned in 2018. One thing I learned early on in the year is that traveling alone can be a bit scary. But I do think that it's something everyone should try at least once. And I do think that preparation is key when doing this. So you might have seen back in January, I traveled alone to New York City for work. And it's one of the few times, possibly the first time, that I've traveled anywhere completely by myself. And while I was apprehensive and nervous at first, I did my best to prepare as much as I could ahead of time to relieve any of the worry that I might have had, and I think that helped out a lot. And after the trip, I felt so much more confident and knowing that I could do it. And I think as long as you have your wits about you, it's a great experience for anyone to have to travel alone. I think it's a good growing experience, and I hope that you'll try it someday. Along those lines, I also learned that the more you travel, the easier it gets. So this has probably been the year of travel for me. It's probably the most I've traveled in my life. I went to New York, Washington, D.C., Las Vegas, and Florida. As of now, 2 times, but as of the end of 2018, I'll have been there 3 times. So that's been quite a bit of travel. And I'm very thankful and feel very fortunate that I'm able to travel that much, because I do enjoy traveling and visiting different places. It's just the process of travel that I've never really loved, especially flying. But I've found, especially this year, by doing it so much more often, I've just become that much more confident and comfortable doing it. And I think that's like anything, just the more experience you have with something, the easier it becomes and the more comfortable you get. Another thing that I learned is that I am stronger than I think. And I think I learned this partly through the travel, but just partly through experiences all throughout the year. And especially in those times where you might feel really defeated and down and not sure if you can make it through something, then you do make it through, and it shows you how strong you are, and that a lot of times you are much stronger than you think you are, and you can get through things that you might not have thought you were able to. And I'm reminded of that with myself all the time, that I'm a lot stronger than I think or give myself credit for. I also learned that being happy and feeling positive isn't always easy. And sometimes you might have to work a little bit harder at it than others. And I've kind of felt this way this year, which I know is in contrast to the previous things I've said, but you know, we all have our ebbs and flows and our ups and downs. And while I may have felt very strong and confident in some areas, I've also noticed this year that for being someone who finds themselves to be an optimistic, positive person, there have been times where I have found it a lot more difficult to be optimistic and positive, and I've had to fight and work a little bit harder to find that silver lining or to focus on the positives. So while sometimes it might come really easy to me, there's other times that I have to try and work a little bit harder at it. I also learned this year that the bubblegum drink at Sugar Factory is delicious. I really enjoy visiting Sugar Factory when I'm traveling because there is not one located near me, and they have many, many delicious drinks that I suggest you try, both alcoholic and non-alcoholic. But I tried the bubblegum drink this year, and it might sound like it would be disgusting or not that great, but I loved it and recommend you try it if you're at Sugar Factory. This is a little bit tougher lesson to learn, but one that I have learned this year, and one that I'm trying to think about and remember, and that is that in life there will be things that you cannot control. And sometimes this is very difficult for people, especially if you're someone that wants to control everything. And I wouldn't say that I'm someone like that that's controlling or wants to control everything. I do know kind of my coping methods and ways to make life a little bit easier and smoother for me, but sometimes there are just things that are completely out of our control. And the main thing is to not let those things consume you. Meaning, maybe somebody cuts you off in traffic. This is just a small scale example, but maybe somebody cuts you off in traffic. You can let that person's actions consume you and be angry or annoyed for the next hour, the rest of the day, at people in general, or you can stop and think and say, I have no control over this situation. This person's going to act this way regardless of whether or not I get upset. So why am I going to let it ruin my day when it ruining my day will have absolutely no impact on them? So I hope that makes sense. That's what I mean by there's things out of our control and we can't let it consume us and take over. Sometimes open communication and telling someone how you feel is hard. And this has been a challenging lesson for me this year because I haven't always been the best at communicating my feelings, especially when it comes to potentially causing conflict, because I'm someone that tries to avoid conflict as much as possible. So sometimes saying exactly how I feel is not always easy for me, and speaking up for what I want, or this is a hard one to explain, but basically it can be very challenging, especially with someone that you're close to. I'm finding this one challenging to explain, but basically for me, it has been difficult to openly communicate with some people in my life, tell them exactly how I'm feeling, because I'm either afraid of hurting their feelings, afraid of how they'll react, or just can't seem to find the right words or the right time to explain how I'm feeling. So that can be a hard thing and is something that I'm working on and trying to get better at, but hopefully that makes sense. Another thing I've realized this year is that mental health, especially dealing with anxiety, is a lifelong journey. So it's not something that once you've worked on it and gotten to a good point with it, that you're just going to be hunky-dory and smooth sailing for the rest of your life. It's something that at least I feel like I'm always going to have to work on. And I am always trying to work on and improve myself in whatever way I can. But as far as mental health and anxiety, it's kind of one of those things that I think you always have to be working on to maintain throughout your life. So you may have years go by where you are maintaining well, not struggling at all, and then slowly it creeps back up again and you try to use your coping mechanisms to stay on top of it, but it's not always easy. And I guess what I'm trying to say is it's something that I at least feel I will be working through for all of my life. I'll have good points, and then I'll have points where I'll have to work a little bit harder at it and focus on it a little bit more so that it doesn't take over. And so if you are someone that struggles with a mental health issue, I do hope you understand what I'm trying to say, is that we just have good points and bad points, and it's something that isn't necessarily a straight line throughout life. It's something that's going to ebb and flow, and that has to be worked on. The next thing I learned this year is that I can make a pretty good American chop suey. Now, if you're not from New England, you're probably saying, what is American chop suey? But I believe in other parts of the country they might call it goulash or things like that. But this is a big accomplishment for me, I feel like, because I am not the greatest cook, because I don't have a lot of experience or a lot of time to experiment with things. So in the past couple months, I made an American chop suey recipe, and I think it turned out pretty well, and my husband tried it and really enjoyed it also, and said that he would like me to make it again. So I thought that was a pretty good accomplishment as far as something that I learned this year, and hopefully I'll be able to learn even more recipes next year. And the final thing that I've learned for 2018 is that joining a new group at first can be intimidating. So this year I decided to join my local Lions Club because I wanted to get more involved in my town, because I don't really know a lot of people in my town, and I don't really know a lot about what's going on in the community. So I looked into different groups to join and went with the Lions Club. And when I say at first it can be intimidating, it was for me, because I am a shy person, especially when I first meet people. And here I was going and having to meet large groups of people that I've never met before and put myself out there and talk to people and try to come off, you know, friendly and seemingly outgoing. But all I can tell you is that while at first it was overwhelming and a little bit intimidating, I'm definitely a person that tries my hardest to put myself in situations that deep down I know are going to better me, but it might not be the easiest at first, so it might be a bit out of my comfort zone at first, especially being an introvert. But based on past experience, I know once I get past that point of kind of being unsure and discomfort, it usually works out okay and usually turns into a positive experience. So overall, I'm really happy and proud of myself for joining. It has been a good and positive experience. Everyone in the group has been very friendly and welcoming, and I feel like goes out of their way to make new members comfortable. But it's also been a good experience, and granted, I've only participated in a couple of events so far, but in that the volunteering aspect has made me feel more positive and happy, because I've noticed when I've left events or things like that, or I'm planning for a future event, it does help to boost my positive feelings and feeling happy. And I think what that comes down to is it feels good when you are doing good. So when you know that you're doing good things for your community and helping other people, you can't not feel good. So I guess that is something that I would recommend to you if you're kind of feeling maybe isolated, maybe like you don't know a lot of people in the area that you live, or you just want to get more involved with your community or meet new people, that is a great way to do it, is to join a group or organization. It could be a service organization, because as I said, the volunteering aspect is a great thing. Or if that's not your thing, you could find a group with maybe a hobby that you enjoy, or something, so for example, a book club, or something that you're interested in that you think you could meet other people who'd be interested in the same things as you. Leave me a comment letting me know one thing that you learned this year, because I'd love to know all of the other amazing things that you are learning. Thank you so much for watching and supporting my channel. It really means a lot to me. I hope that you have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!